Welcome back, everyone, to the Yacht Inspector, the show where we pull back the curtain on the real world of buying and owning boats. I'm your host, Alex, and today I'm thrilled to have my good friend Ingolf from yachtexperts.com with us.
Hey, Alex. Good to be back with you again.
Good to have you, mate. So, I wanted you on the show today because I heard you had a wild case come across your desk. You had to survey a boat that was, let's just say, not what it seemed.
Oh, man, you could say that. We got a call from a client about his sailboat. He had already bought it, which, as you know, is always a bit of a nail biter for us.
Ah, the post-purchase survey. So he's already emotionally invested, and you might have to be the one to deliver some bad news. What was the story there? Why no survey beforehand?
It's the classic situation, Alex. He was excited. The boat had the layout he was looking for, a deck salon, and yeah, as long as it was floating, looked pretty okay to his eyes. So he just wanted to close the deal and get her out on the sea. It was a 1997 build from Mekamarin, a Turkish yard that isn't around anymore. He trusted the seller and decided to skip the survey to save a few bucks. He actually sailed it all the way from Italy to Croatia right after buying it.
Wow. So he put some serious miles on it straight away. He must have been feeling pretty good about his purchase.
For a little while, yeah, but then, you know how it is, some scary things started to pop up. A leak here, a weird noise there, and that gut feeling started to sink in. Then, on arrival in Croatia, he decided to haul her on the dry, first time for himself. And yeah, I guess that feeling wasn't a good one when he saw what he actually bought. That's when he called us.
Okay, so the first haul out was the moment when things started to fall apart for him, right? Okay, so you took your toolbox and headed to the marina for a survey. So where did you even begin? When you opened up that can of worms, what was the first thing that made you go, uh-oh?
Well, you always start with the critical stuff on the hard, right? The hull, the keel, the rudder. And wow, that rudder was just gone. The inside of it, the backbone, so to say, and the core had completely disintegrated. A huge chunk of the blade had literally broken off and vanished.
Wait. So you're telling me he sailed it from Italy to Croatia with a broken rudder and didn't even know?
Exactly. That's what happened. He was one bad wave away from having no steering in the middle of the Adriatic. And it got worse. The quadrant it was attached to was also cracked, and the skeg holding it was rotten to the core. The entire system was just waiting for a catastrophic failure. Our report just had a long list of category A defects, like fix this immediately or don't leave the dock kind of stuff.
That's just insane, Ingolf. So the boat couldn't even steer properly. What about the part that's supposed to keep the water out? The hull?
That was the moment we knew that our client really jumped into a disaster. The joint between the hull and the keel? What a mess. Someone had tried a cheap fix, just slapping on some new fiberglass, but it was already peeling away. We tapped on it, and you could hear it was totally delaminated. Water was actually seeping out of the hull laminate when we pushed on it.
No way. Are you saying the keel was literally coming off?
At least I'd say it was on its way. The keel bolts were corroded, the internal floors were rotten, so the whole backbone of the boat was compromised at some degree. And don't even get me started on the rig.
Oh, this story just has layers of disaster. Go on.
The fitting holding the boom to the mast, the so-called gooseneck. It was stainless steel on an aluminum mast, a perfect recipe for galvanic corrosion, and it was so badly fitted to the mast's profile that half of the rivets were missing. The bow fitting, the one holding forestay, cracked, the backstay connections. One side had boats that were too short, the other was just buried in fiberglass with no backing plate. A total mystery holding it on.
Okay, this is sounding less like a boat and more like a collection of broken parts hoping to stay together. What about the inside, the systems? What did you find there?
Lethal danger, to bring it to the point.
Lethal danger? Seriously? What was it?
A portable air-cooled generator from a hardware store around the corner, stuffed into the aft lazarette. It had a DIY exhaust and a loose plastic gas can as a tank sitting right next to it. Just think about that for a second. Gasoline fumes, heat, no ventilation, and bad wiring all in one tiny space. It was actually more a bomb. I mean, two ways to die for the crew, either from carbon monoxide or in an explosion.
I'm actually speechless. So, after all this, the rudder, the keel, the rig, the bomb in the locker, was it the end of the line or?
I wish it was, but it wasn't. All the bilge installations, heavily corroded and seized seacocks, worn out and improperly secured hoses and so on, all stuff for the junkyard. And then all the electrical installations with improper circuit breakers, corroded and unsecured wiring, and a total mess with the battery installation. Then the hatches, with broken locks, impossible to close them tightly, signs of water leaks all around the frames.
Man, what an absolute nightmare. And what about the beating heart of the boat, the engine and the drivetrain and so forth?
Well, the engine has already been taken out for an overhaul when I arrived at the marina, with a clogged cooling system and all kind of service stuff required. Why that was decided before the survey, I don't know, because actually it was kind of like putting lipstick on a pig.
Right, lipstick for a pig. I guess that's true. So, after all, what was your conclusion and how did the whole story end up for the client?
Well, obviously, the survey report stated that the vessel was far away from being seaworthy, and important for the client, that many of the findings should have been well known to the seller at the time of the purchase. So finally, the whole story ended up in a legal dispute with more unnecessary expenses and lots of headache for him. Right. I mean, look, I'm really sorry for this guy because I know how quickly you can end up in a situation like this. You're enthusiastic that you found a boat meeting your expectations and your budget, and you can't await getting out on the sea with it. Unfortunately, this kind of attitude often leads to some kind of blind spots when seeing the boat, with all the problems and consequences thereafter.
That's so true. Headache that could have been avoided by simply hiring you before signing the contract.
Absolutely. I could have told him at first sight that it would be better to turn around and stay away from a buy.
No doubt about that. Ingolf, so the takeaway here for our audience is don't be that guy. A thorough pre-purchase survey isn't a line item you can cut to save money. It's the single most important investment you'll make. It's about your safety, your family safety, and your financial well-being. This whole mess ended in a lawsuit. All that stress, all that money, it could have all been avoided with one phone call before he signed the check.
Well said, Alex. If you're out there and you want to avoid buying a floating nightmare, you know who to contact.
Right. Check out Ingolf and his team at yachtexperts.com. They'll make sure your dream boat is actually a dream. Thanks for joining us today, and stay tuned for more insights from a marine surveyor to be revealed soon here at the Yacht Inspector. Have a good time till then.